Do you want to make a stack that looks like this? That absolutely screams.
Do it! Do it! Come on, kill me! I'm here! Come on! Do it now! Kill me!
Well, today we're going to be talking about Silphymon Turbo. For the longest time, I had thought of Silphymon as the least reliable of the recent set of DNA digivolving partition decks. Most expensive to get the pieces together, and by any means, the slowest. But now, after taking the time to look into some of the issues, build a deck that feels more consistent, even with its inconsistencies, I landed on a build that was initially funny, but turned out to be able to facilitate way stronger level 6s than I never expected it to. This is Silphymon. Alright, so this is Silphymon Turbo. I'm going to get into it immediately. I do just have to give you two disclaimers. One, it's expensive. It is pretty inaccessible considering that it runs 3 Galant X, as you can see, and 2 Galants. That's already a lot of change, not including how annoying it was to get the Hawkmons, let alone the fact that they can be expensive. I haven't checked since, and Cherubimon is also pretty expensive still. So it's not an accessible list. If that's a problem, I'd just move on to something else, but I think that this deck is really cool nonetheless. So if you've got all the pieces, definitely put this together. And the second caveat is kind of that this was just from the depths of my mind. I have not come first with this, but I've done very well so far on almost every single game that I've played. I'm not really going to talk about matchups, and I can't really give you every single scenario that this deck can play in, but I have come second more than once now with this deck at locals, and yeah, I've been playing it a fair bit, and it's a lot of fun. So let's get into the deck. Essentially, your entire game plan is to be pretty aggro, and then you want to make it to hopefully get to your Chaosmon, keep turn, do a lot of damage, and all of these kind of cards around it facilitate that. Very aggro strategy, but it's also very, very board destructive, very good at control. Card by card, Pheromone's here for the draw. We can get to if we DNA digivolve. That's an important aspect to remember, is that when you DNA digivolve, a lot of the time you are resetting your inheritables, so things like Biomon's inheritable to gain 1 memory, or Pheromone's you can get a second, which is awesome. Fantastic for the deck, because the deck's biggest weakness is often that it struggles at its lower end. So Bio is great for the search. It grabs pretty much everything in this deck except for exactly like Cherubi and Chaosmon, and the X antibody as well, but like whatever. But the memory is important, so we do run it because, you know, if you can get into your level 4 Gatomon, for example, swing, gain a memory, that can make the difference between whether or not you're getting into your Silphymon, or if you're getting into your Galant, for example, yada yada. Awesome. Hawkmon is great because we need a search. It grabs everything in this deck, and more importantly it is an end of turn effect to DNA Digivolve. That's why we run the Flamemon as well, is because it's actually really annoying to only have 4. You kind of want 3 more, because it's really rough if you don't have enough end of turn DNA effects to like actually, you know, exacerbate your plays, considering that a lot of these cards will digivolve. The level 4 specifically will digivolve for 3 cost more often than not, because your rookies kind of don't line up. It's a really annoying little caveat. Salamon is here to reduce the cost of digivolving from the trash into your Gatomon or your Parpymon. It's really good. I do actually love having this in the hand. The problem is that it costs 1 to digivolve in raising. So be it, I guess, but you get that memory back in spades when you're digivolving out of the trash, because it really helps with your recursion. You will need recursion in this deck, and it does have a lot of recursion, which is cool. And then we get to the Flamemon. Again, end of turn DNA, and when digivolving DNA is great. It just helps us out with the fact that we don't have like a Wormmon and a Vmon to end of turn DNA. We just had Hawkmon, so I put the Flamemon in. I didn't want to put in more than that to, you know, lean a little bit too far into Dino B. I just felt like the Flamemon really helps out. Lynx is here to help you clear bodies. It raids, it armor purges, and it minuses 3. So you can -3 a small body, raid over something bigger after you minus that 3, or if you know, like, if you -3 on something big and then you can raid over that, or you can just -3 on something big, get to your Sylphy, minus another 7. We can really effectively minus 10 to 14k super easily. And it also goes over Gatomon for 0. The caveat is +3 when you're digivolving over any of your level 3s. There is no black box for your level 3s. Silphymon, I almost find I never actually get the your turn, recover 1, only in the latest of late games, but it's another Digimon for your Hawkmon to digivolve over for 2, and in dire straits you can recover 1, which is great. Gatomon is by far one of the best cards in this lineup of level 4s, except for the fact that early on it's not great, considering that you get to trash a card and then grab back any of your other level 6 or lower 2-color Digimon, which is so good because you can just start recurring Galant, you can start recurring your Silphymon, you can recur so much in this deck, and then you just keep doing it over and over again. The barrier is important because if you hit your opponent, it dies, I don't care. This is more of a free check than the Armor Purge is, which is sick. Then we have the bad Silphymon, -5, pop of 5. It's okay. It's okay. We would rather minus something completely into oblivion than have to try and pop something, but it is what it is. It's here to shore up the problems if you're not finding the other Silphymon, whatever. And then it's when attacking in the inheritables is okay too. Sometimes it helps you to clear smaller bodies, which is good. The problem with this Silphymon is that it doesn't have partition, and that matters a lot. The other Silphymon, though, does have partition. So it basically, when you partition, you're going to be playing out 2 level 4s if you've never played this game before, and that can mean that you can start your search and cycle with Gatomon again, and then you have your other level 4 play out, and we're good to go into Silphy again. This is super important, because if you go 1 check with Gato, DNA Digivolve into Silphy, swing again, and it hits an option, and that option kills Silphymon or tries to bottom deck it, remove it from the battle area, essentially. You play out 2 dudes. If it's Gatomon again that you're playing out, then when you play out Gatomon, you can just fish back your Silphymon from the trash again, and then just do it again to your opponent. So they essentially just give you a free check when that happens. And if they're playing something like Security Control, we just do that over and over and over again, which is awesome. As for the rest of the text on Silphymon, it is really cool because when DNA Digivolving, you're -7k on your opponent, and then you are deleting a 4k just when Digivolving, and then when attacking, you're deleting a 4k as well. It's not once per turn, so you can pop a lot of stuff on field, especially after you start DP-minusing things down, and it's great removal to be able to just go bang, 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 get it all out of here. And then Galant X is the follow-up. You're essentially most of the time trying to get into Galant X. It doesn't really matter if you have the X antibody at the top right here underneath it, because it's cool to have it because you really do want to be like, oh, I'm gonna swing with Silphy, use the effect of the X antibody after we trigger the when attacking on Silphy to digivolve into Galant X, and then Galant X is gonna +4 itself, -4 your opponent, trash and unsuspend, hopefully. Most of the time it will. But you don't have to do that. A lot of the time you can just trash and unsuspend again, and then you have a body that is difficult for your opponent to out. They're already trying their best to delete it by passing you your turn, because it is immune if you have 0 or less memory, but they pass the turn, delete it, or try to bottom deck it, partition triggers, and then we're playing out 2 more dudes. They are in a world of hurt again. And that's what I really like about this deck so far that I've been playing and over again, is that you're really like, you're being super aggro, but you're also putting your opponent into super annoying, difficult to deal with situations. 2 of the Meta-Galant is here to be Meta-Galant. Not only is this card bonkers, considering that you can just play it for 7 and then, pop 1 body, swing into another, especially with this deck. If you have Hawkmon or Flamedramon underneath with their end of turn DNAs, if you already have something like Galantmon X on the field and you've got Chaosmon in your hand, you can end of turn DNA and gain another 2 back. So you can effectively make this a 5 cost level 6 played out from your hand. And then again, if your opponent ever tries to delete the Digimon that is Chaosmon, you are putting them in the bone zone. You are putting them into the 2 level 6s coming out and 2 level 4s coming out. I've made it so that I've a few times now I've actually fully digivolved all the way into 2 Silphymons and then just digivolved into 2 level 6s, put them together for Chaosmon. That's what that image is from the start. That's another 2 level 4s that are getting it played out. If your opponent ever kills that, they are dead beyond belief. And hence, one of the reasons I really like Cherubimon in this deck. Not only is it just an ace target, your opponent is often really thinking about that. They'll probably out your Silphymon before they actually let you ace. But more importantly, Cherubimon is here to just hard play for 7, end a turn, put them together, bang. If your opponent ever kills it, here's Cherubimon again. And initially I was like, oh, Cherubimon's kind of mediocre in this deck. I'd rather run just a Valkyrie ace because, it fits better with the deck. It does way higher threshold for DP minusing. When you look at this deck, it is a single stack. So Cherubi ace is only going to play out one dude, and you'll only have one guy on the field from that. So most of the time you're only -4. But it doesn't really matter if you -7 on something until the end of your opponent's turn with Silphymon, for example. It's pretty good. You can put them down to like 4k, play something out, put them down to 0, or put them down to 1k, 2k, and then they hit security and their life is hell. And Cherubi's great for the Alliance. Those 2 checks matter a lot of the time. So it's fantastic. I love Cherubi. Chaosmon is here to do exactly what I said before. It is put pressure, stun down your opponent's board, make it so that they cannot use any on-play effects after you have cleared their board with Silphymon, and then you get 2 checks, you get to gain 2 memory, keep your turn. It's pretty good. It's just a really, really good card. Most of every yellow deck at the moment is running Chaosmon, so why shouldn't we? 2 of the Tai and Kari. This card is pretty good, mostly the mid to late game. You just need to have 3 security, your opponent have 3 security. It's a memory setter all the time. It helps you to get more aggressive checks at your lower end with things like your Gato and your Lynxes and whatnot. Keeps them alive so that you can do those checks. It'll -2 your opponent's security, and then they can just keep swinging and swinging. The big linchpin of the deck is the Davison Ken adjacent Yole and Kari. This card, essentially, it's just Davison Ken. You're playing out a Salah or a Hawkmon. Not really anything different from Davis Ken there. The only difference is you gain a memory when you digivolve. If you're DNA digivolving, instead of trashing sources, you're -3. This matters because it puts our Silphymon into the 10k threshold of minus, let alone the fact that it pops 4ks. So you can really, really easily decimate people's boards. Okay. And the cool thing about having, -7, -3, -3 on Lynx, for example, maybe you have another Yole Kari, is you can spread those out across different Digimon and really, really burn boards. So this is a fantastic card. Get it down as fast as you can. You want to be searching with your Hawkmon. Yeah. And then we got 1 of the Fire Rocket. This is completely a flex spot. It is a good card for that extra aggression because it's a 1-cost set +1 on almost any of this. Because we don't, almost all of this is red, so we can facilitate that super easily. Red Scramble is fantastic in the deck. It is essentially another Davison Ken when everything goes bad. If you use it to reduce the cost to digivolve into things like Galant, that has won me games, by the way. Galant, when digivolving, suspend your opponent's Digimon, swing over it because or swing past it for game if they put up 1 blocker. Awesome. But again, Scramble is awesome because everything goes wrong. You get to recur one of your level 4s or even your level 5 and then play out Hawkmon or Biomon, and then Yole gets to play out a Hawkmon or a Salamon, and your turn is way, way more online than you would think. So I kind of mentally think of it as another Yole and Kari Davis Ken. X Anybody is here to, again, just get into Galant X. I did try 1 extra with the Protoform, and it's okay. It's not great considering that, like, again, we only want the trash and unsuspend effect, and if you can do that in turn, man, is it good already. But when you can't, doesn't really matter, to be honest. It's good for, like, the recovery as well. You're burning boards and, being aggro enough that your opponent has to focus on you and not your security. Okay, so that's the card by card. There is some really, really neat interactions that you can do and move around with this deck to make it feel way, way more fun. There's so many things that you will end up accidentally doing and then realize you can improve upon. For example, like what I was saying before, if you swing in a security and you hit a option card that deletes your Digimon with Silphymon on the field and it pops and your opponent is mad about it, to put it lightly, they hate to see it because you'll play out Gato, grab that Silphy back, go again. And so it's this real back and forth of doing your best to floodgate your opponent, doing your best to trying to keep that aggro up and just really, really push them into a corner. And again, the amount of minuses in this deck is so cool. With just a Yolekari and Silphymon, you can burn 14k away. That's really easy to do. Or you put them down to like -2 or -3, pop a couple of other things, swing over that big Digimon. That's really good. I really like this deck so far. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your improvements. There were definitely some other cards that I had tried with before. For example, the Beast Storm Dance of Affection, I think it's called. But we don't run Aquila, and we only run 3 of our Gato, so it was only kind of working sometimes, and it cost 3. So I would really prefer just having a 1-cost Fire Rocket that I can just shoot off anytime I kind of wanted to, that I knew I would have in turn, then have to pay 3 to, you know, pseudo digivolve. Again, one of the biggest problems with this deck is that the level 4s are expensive to digivolve into a lot of the time. Lynxmon helps out with that. You just have to make sure you're paying attention to your black boxes and your actual digivolve costs, because if Harpymon goes over Hawkmon, it only costs 2, but if it goes over Bio or Sala, it's going to cost you 3. It sucks. It really does. It is the worst part about this deck. It's making sure you remember those little things, and that also makes it really difficult to get from your bottom end into the top end, like how easily Imperial Dramon does it, which really gatekeeps this deck from being as good as those decks, in my opinion. But I also think that this deck has a way stronger threshold once it gets past its level 5. Hardest part of this deck is passing your level 4s. Once you've got everything set up and you've been staring at your opponent while they've been chipping away at you, your turns get explosive, and then it just keeps going over and over again. So hope you enjoy the deck. If you like watching this video, please subscribe, please follow, please like, yada yada. And if you've got any maybe things that I missed out on putting in the deck or that you would change, tell me down in the comments below. I'm always super interested to hear what other people's thoughts are on deck profiles. Obviously, this is not perfect, but it is very, very fun. Anyway, see you on the next one. Bye!